how to better understand China. This incredible nation, whose influence is apparent in every aspect of 21st century life, through the one thing that has indelibly marked every step of its history, through Chinese food. This stunning feature-length movie and 8-part series weaves the rich tradition of Chinese cuisine through the sumptuous tapestry of China's history. With unprecedented access to the gastronomic temples of the 8 culinary traditions of China, we recreate great historical moments and explore the dazzling array of dishes and ingredients that is China's rich legacy to the world. Let the Chinese menu be your guide to Chinese history. This is groundbreaking, must-see television. This is Wok, the long march of Chinese cuisine. (1720). In the heart of the Forbidden City, the longest, most elaborate banquet in history is served to the Kangxi Emperor. With the 320 courses of this staggering feast, the third Manchu ruler of China is trying to unify his vast domain by combining the signature dishes of his Manchu home with the refined delicacies of the 8 great cuisines. The Manchu Han Imperial Feast is still replicated today. But even 300 years before the First Empire, Confucius had applied philosophy to the preparation and enjoyment of food. He even left recipes. Guided by the great Confucius, Shandong cuisine would continue to develop. In the 8th century, Emperor Xuanzong of Tang oversaw one of the greatest eras of Chinese art and culture, only to see it destroyed as a tragic consequence of the great love of his life. Later, in exile, the fallen emperor returned to Shandong. At least he would eat well. For over the centuries, Shandong had produced an extraordinary cuisine. And many centuries later, it would produce the perfect accompaniment for Shandong cuisine, the world-famous Qingdao beer. Shandong cuisine, China's first great culinary tradition. (1893). Mao Zedong is born in Hunan, a region renowned for its chili-fueled cuisine. Years later, Chairman Mao would declare, "The more chilies you eat, the more revolutionary you become." In the Chinese way, Mao knew the historic importance of food to his nation. But Hunanese cuisine stretched thousands of years before Mao's time. One of China's greatest poets and statesmen, Chu Yuan, born 340 BC, wrote poems referring to Hunanese food. And his death spawned the Dragon Boat Festival, itself a celebration fueled by food, including its own special dumplings. The Needham question is named after the Englishman who would write the epic 27-volume history of Chinese science and technology, which is the world standard today. Why, asked Needham, if China was the most technologically advanced nation in the 17th century, was it overtaken by Europe and America only 200 years later? In Sichuan, they say, they were too busy eating. Sichuan was a land of abundance due to the extraordinary irrigation project carried out in the 2nd century BC by the groundbreaking engineer Li Bing. Sichuan cuisine is full of colorful, influential characters like the great governor Ding Baozhen, whose personal cook invented Gongbao chicken, the most famous Sichuanese dish in the world. And Li Bai, whose poem Drinking Alone by Moonlight, written more than 1,000 years ago, is known by every Chinese schoolchild. Today, the baijiu enjoyed by Li Bai is the world's most popular spirit. Sichuan is also the home of such classic dishes as the Chengdu and Chongqing hot pots. Koxinga, the brilliant Fujianese warrior who defied the Manchu invaders and conquered Taiwan for China, began the great spread of Fujianese cuisine. Fujian's delicate cuisine embraces its greatest assets, the food of the mountains and the sea. Fujianese cooks are renowned for cooking the freshest seafood in sophisticated preparations that preserve the beautiful colors and light tastes. Unfortunately, Koxinga's successes inspired the Great Clearance, the Manchu revenge on the Fujianese peoples who had supported the old Ming dynasty. The Hakka and the Chuqiao people, who created exquisite cooking styles, proudly part of the Fujian tradition, fled, taking their cuisine far beyond China. Today, you can see their influence in the food of Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, the Philippines, and of course, Taiwan. Two distinct styles, both light and elegant. Together they form the cuisine of Jiangsu, the only cuisine deemed worthy to be served at the founding banquet of the People's Republic of China. Jiangsu's great cities, Suzhou, Yangzhou, and Nanjing, became the richest cities in China upon the completion of the Grand Canal. Yangzhou was also the heart of the empire's salt monopoly and the largest pre-industrial production center in China. 1356. Suzhou was convulsed by the Red Turban Rebellion against the Mongol Yuan dynasty, before falling to the first Ming Emperor Hongwu. The Ming would take Jiangsu cuisine to their new capital, Beijing. From here, it spread through the empire as a byword for sophistication and refinement. Suzhou is special, the Venice of the East, China's most important and best preserved historical site. Likewise, Jiangsu cuisine, created during the centuries of refinement at the courts of China's great dynasties, is famed, enshrined, and acclaimed. Zhejiang and its capital, Hangzhou, one of the most picturesque and prosperous cities of China. The land of fish and rice has produced iconic dishes. Dongpo Po, named after the great calligrapher, artist and statesman, Su Dongpo, who invented it. Beggar's chicken, cooked in clay and first offered to the Yongle emperor by a poor peasant. And of course, the iconic Westlake sweet and sour carp. Zhejiang also leads the country in tea production and is the home of the legendary Dragon's Well, discovered in 280 AD. Its waters reputed to give Zhejiang tea its special quality. Zhejiang also makes China's most famous rice wine, Shaoxing, which is essential to the iconic Zhejiang dish, drunken chicken. It is also home to two of China's greatest literary figures, Wang Shiji, the sage of calligraphy, and Lu Xun, the father of modern Chinese literature. Both loved Shaoxing wine. Anhui, only formed in the 17th century and comparatively young, also has a rich history. One of the most significant battles in Chinese history, the Battle of Fei River, was fought here in 383 AD and preserved ancient China as a Han nation in the face of a vast barbarian invasion. A place of endless geographical and cultural diversity, Anhui's iconic Huangshan Mountains are the subject of countless poems and paintings. So beautiful that the Yellow Emperor was said to have retired here and ascended to heaven. Anhui reflects this diversity in its cuisine by being a mixing pot of many native styles. Reflecting its relaxed inland way of life, much of Anhui's cuisine uses braising and stewing rather than stir-frying as in other parts of China. In this final episode, we take a fresh look at the Chinese cuisine best known outside China. What the West knows as Cantonese food was carried overseas in waves of emigration in the 19th century and can be a pale reflection of the cuisine renowned throughout China as the most refined of all. Guangdong was the gateway through which foreigners first entered China and Chinese emigrants departed. Many of the descendants of those immigrants returned to Guangdong to take part in the economic boom. It is fitting, therefore, that as 21st century China emerges as such a significant identity in the modern world, we finish the series where the modern world first encountered China, in Guangdong. This is a lavish documentary series which will have wide appeal. Lush widescreen cinematography, riveting narration, never-before-seen locations, cutting-edge computer-generated recreations, an evocative original music score, a panorama of art, invention, music, poetry, history, and food. Through sensitively handled product placement and sponsorship, our partner's message will be carried into a massive worldwide market. More than a travelogue or a cooking show, this 8-part series takes the best of both these hugely popular mediums and creates something unique, memorable, and tantalizing. In China, history is food, and food is history. A history written into the pages of the Chinese menu. Walk the long march of Chinese cuisine.